So, dear colleagues, I would like to present to your attention our report on the topic, the impact of digital technologies on the transition to a green economy. We've prepared it together with Anna Gabacheva and Pavel Fedosov, but since they're working now, I will be speaking on their behalf as well. So first of all, there are two parts in our report. The first part is the analytical is the analysis of the impact of the digital technologies on the movement to a green economy. And then the second part is a survey that we've conducted among the Russian and the Chinese students that showed the awareness of the students about the Industry 4.0, about the digital technologies and the ecological problems. So first of all, let me start with the analysis of the influence of the digital technologies on moving to a green economy. And there are two main aspects. First of all, there are the positive. First of all, there is a positive influence of the digital technologies, and that includes several points. For example, when we use the ICT or the digital technologies in the production process, it can help to save the energy and to reduce the amount of the resources. Then, when we use ICT, it can help to replace physical goods by the virtual ones. And the example is e-commerce. And finally, we can install the sensors that allow us to reduce the lightning and to reduce the resource consumption as well. But however, there are some negative aspects as well, because when we use the digital technologies, it leads to the environmental pollution and toxic waste, and this is a serious ecological problem as well. Then we can analyze which industries are mostly affected by the digital technologies. These industries include energy, transport, water resources, electronic transactions, and waste and emissions. Our colleagues have already talked about these aspects, so I will just talk about some of the main aspects of this influence. For example, if we talk about energy, it leads to the reduction of energy use in the buildings. When we talk about transport, we can first of all talk about car sharing and velo sharing. The water resources leads to the reduction of water use in homes and to the reduction of land irrigation. The electronic transactions help to replace physical goods with the virtual ones, and I've already talked about that. And finally, the use of the digital technologies can lead to the reduction and disposition of waste more efficiently. Then there are a lot of there are some programs that are related to the creation of the smart cities. And such smart cities already exist in the European Union, in the USA, in Australia, and in Canada. And there are also some cities that are immediately built on the basis of the information technologies. Some of the examples are the eco-city of Masdar in the Emirates, then Songdo in South Korea, then Iskandar in Malaysia, and Tianjin. That is a joint project of Singapore and China. There are two initiatives in Europe that also lead to the creation of the smart cities, and Russia is also involved in this process. There was a project prepared by Rostelecom together with the participation of the Ministry of Construction. And according to that project, the number of the cities should reach 5 by 2020, and the number of the smart cities should reach 6 by 2022. But I'm not sure whether this goal has been reached because of the crisis and because of the pandemic. Then our colleagues have already talked about the use of the digital technologies in the electricity sector and in the field of the renewable energy sources. And I will just give one example of using the digital technologies in this field. For example, the Italian Enel uses Amazon Web Services cloud platform, and using that service helped to save the energy at over 144 gigawatt hours per hour. And CO2 emissions have been reduced by 75,000 tons per year. Digital technologies are also widely used in the agricultural field, in the industrial field, and in transport. There are several examples. For example, sensors and cameras are widely used in agriculture in the USA, in Australia, in Holland, in New York, and in the European Union, but they are not widely used in Russia. One of the examples of using the digital technologies in the industrial sector that is used in Russia is the use of the Yandex Data Factory platform by the Magnitogorsk Iron and Steel Works. And it allowed to reduce the consumption of ferroalloys by 5%. So the digital technologies are also used in transport. There are such platforms as the BlaBlaCar sharing system that was that started operating in 2014, and Uber taxis that started operating in 2013 in Russia. Then we've made the survey of the Chinese and the Russian students, and the results of the survey are as following. First of all, we've asked 100 Chinese students about the awareness of the ecological problems. And it showed that most of the students were really concerned about the ecological problems. About 80% of the students answered that they were very worried about the deterioration and deterioration of the environment. And about 87% were worried about the deterioration in their small homeland. The level of the ecological state was estimated at an average of 3.5 out of 5. Then we asked them to name the main ecological problems, and the students could mark several options. So air pollution was named by 85% of the students. It was followed by water pollution, 71%. Then 41% noted problems with noise, and only 7% mentioned climate changes. After that, we've made a survey of the Russian students as well, and we've asked them several questions. So we've asked 6 questions, and here are the results of the survey. First of all, we've asked them if they know about the key technologies of Industry 4.1, and most of the students, about 70% of the students, and we've asked 100 Russian students, mostly from МГИМО and from the High School of Economics. So about 70% answered that they were not aware and they could not name the key technologies. But then when we discussed the problem with them, it turned out that only the concept was not familiar, but they actually knew a lot of technologies, as our further analysis showed. The next question was to select the options that the students previously knew. And they had to select from smart cities, Internet of Things, renewable energy sources, and car sharing. So most of the students knew about renewable energy sources and car sharing, about 98% of the participants. and about 63 to 67% knew about the Internet of Things or smart cities. The next question was to name the main countries that were successful in developing green economy. And the students mentioned the Scandinavian countries, about 43%. Then the USA, 35%, Western Europe, 32%, East Asian countries, 28%, Australia and New Zealand, Japan and Canada. Then, based on the survey of the Chinese students, we've asked the Russian students what they consider to be the main ecological problems. And there was a difference between the answers of the Russian and the Chinese students. It turned out that the Russian students were more concerned about the problems with the air pollution as well, with water pollution, but also with the deforestation and with the climatic change. About 85% talked about the climatic change. Then we asked if those problems could be solved by using the digital technologies. And most of the students told us in the survey that they could be solved by using the digital technologies. And they mentioned that, however, only 25% showed that the problems of climatic change could be solved by using the digital technologies. And the final question was if the students could give the example of how the digital technologies could improve the environmental situation. And so the survey has shown that the students were confident that the digital technologies could solve many of the environmental problems, and they gave us some of the examples. So basically, our survey showed that most Russian and the Chinese students were aware of the ecological situation and of the possibilities of using the digital technologies. And further on, it showed that they are really interested in the subject and gave us some interesting solutions of how these problems could be solved. So thank you very much for your attention. Большое спасибо за внимание.